the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You received the minutes of the April 15th meeting. Is there any questions or a motion for approval?
Second.
Ivan?
All right, welcome everybody to our planning commission meeting. We're gonna start with the Pagnotti Enterprises. Basically what they're doing is subdividing their property up in Banks Township. If I can get this open. Cleaning up all the different tax parcels up there. There's so many up there that Food used to have and Pagnotti and everybody. And basically what they're doing is two tax parcels, subdividing them and then combining them into one lot with the houses already on it. There's the old church up there and stuff like that. Okay, let's see here, it's zoned M1 industrial, R2 medium density residential. It's the subdivision proposed 4 lots, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they're gonna combine these 2 lots subdivided into 1 lot to create a 1.453 acre tract. It conforms to Article 6 requirements of the Bank Township subdivision land development ordinance, and it conforms to the requirements of the Banks Township zoning ordinance, and I would recommend approval.
Any discussion, question? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval passes.
The next, we're gonna go out of order. We're gonna do 2 and 4, because they're simple lot line consolidation. Need a motion for that?
Is there a motion to change the order of,
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Order's changed.
We go through that. The next one is a simple lot line revision. It's located 81 Johnson Lane, Tormenson Trails. Basically, it's 2 lots, existing lots. They're combining them again into 1 lot. It's gonna be a 0.867 acre tract. New tax parcel number to be assigned. There's existing on-lot water and sewer. It's existing residential brush and wood covered land tract, slight to moderate soil conditions throughout. And on-site investigation revealed existing structures on the proposed combined lot. The plan as submitted does not conform to minor plan requirements. Plan is exempted from standard procedures of the Penn Forest Township subdivision and land development ordinance and requirements of the chapter 240 Penn Forest zoning ordinance. And basically, it's the minor thing. It's the surveyor seal not on the plan, certification of ownership not completed. The signature block authorizing Penn Forest Township staff and consultants enter upon the premises to check the property out before approval, not signed. And again, the significant natural features of trees greater than 8 inches of caliber not shown in the plan. And we'll get to that later on, because the Penn Forest Township is updating their solid ordinance. And I would recommend conditional plan approval.
Any discussion? Is there a motion for conditional plan approval?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Conditional plan approval granted.
And the next one is Donald J. And Junior and Eric at Eifert. This is out at the old golf course, Pocono Mountain, up there in Kidder Township. And basically what they're doing is combining their lot. 2 lots existing, it's 27.77 acre tract. It's a beautiful piece of property. And let's see, there's existing on-lot water and sewer, existing buildings, again, it's It conforms to minor final plan requirements of the Carroll Township Land Development Ordinances and the Carroll Township zoning ordinances, and, again, I recommend approval.
Discussion? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Approval is granted.
And the last one is for a solar park in Mahoning Township. It's Milo Enterprises. Does everybody know where the bus company is down there on the Ashtown Road, going out to Lowe's?
Next to Bear Memorial
Yes.
Park.
Over that one-lane stone bridge. And it's in wetlands, so I'm sending out a copy of the wetland delineation map. Let me get, they went before the zoning board of Mahoning Township and got conditional use approval for that lot in an industrial zone. And I have shown on here the wetland delineation, so this whole portion of this whole lot is within the 100-year floodplain down there. And the comments are 5 pages long here, so. The plan proposes to develop a portion of the property, it's 10.08 acres, the area of earth disturbance, into a commercial solar energy generation facility with arrays of 5,400 ground-mounted solar panels with a connection to an existing PP&L pole, and I have the number 55939 /north 24557. It's an overhead utility line, and associated improvements include construction of mechanical equipment pads and stormwater management facilities. Access to the site will be provided an access from Ashtown Road through property that they granted, the Georges from the bus company granted them access over their property to get into the lot. The access to the site provided via paved access from driveway from Ashtown Road to the proposed commercial solar energy generation facility. With the exception of the transformer site, the remainder of the solar facility will be enclosed by a 4-foot high fence with double swing gates at the sewer line locations, and there's 2 places where the existing sewer line comes through, right through here, and at the site. The plan is submitted does not conform to the preliminary plan requirements of Mahoning Township subdivision and land development ordinance. The commercial solar energy facility was granted a conditional use approval with conditions on February 12, 2025 by Mahoning Board of Supervisors Township. It's an existing vacant agricultural brush and wood covered land tract, slight to moderate slope conditions throughout. On-site investigation on portions of the tract revealed an existing sewer line easement and a PPL utility easement. They only submitted five plans. And the big thing I'm gonna point out is, they said they surveyed it, but there's no bearings or distances on this whole tract. So it's a nice picture. As noted on Plan Note 7, floodplains exist within the site as determined by FEMA flood insurance mapping, and I enclosed it. It does meet the minimum requirement in their zoning ordinance of 10 acres, and it was granted a conditional use approval again. However, the solar power generation commercial requires the following documentation be provided in accordance with this section prior to recording of the final plan, and they're gonna need all their licenses and permits from the Carbon County Conservation District and DEP for the NIPSES permit. They're gonna need a stormwater management and soil erosion control plan, which they haven't submitted. And the land development plan has been submitted as the final minor land development plan. Mahoning Township subdivision and land development ordinances does not have a section to solve the final minor land development subdivision review. Therefore, this land development plan is submitted will be reviewed as a preliminary plan, major subdivision per their requirements of 9928. They do have final residential land development plans just for residential homes, but nothing for a land development for anything else. Section 32A, plan requirements for land developments, the requirements for preliminary plan 9928, final plans for major subdivision 9929 shall serve as the guide for types of information which may be required. In addition, the information required when the final plan comes in shall include all details of the required improvements necessary to confirm compliance with this chapter and all other applicable township ordinances. The Board of Supervisors of Mahoning Township shall also have the right to apply reasonable additional standards and requirements necessary to execute the purpose of this chapter. So although 9919-A, final plans for major subdivisions and land development require that an application for final plan approval can only be filed when the subdivision land development has been previously granted an unconditional preliminary plan approval in accord with 9918, and all conditions established by the Board of Supervisors for preliminary plan approval will be fulfilled by the applicant before final plan approval. And approval of the preliminary plan, this is in section 9920-28, shall be conditioned upon the approval of the soil erosion and sedimentation control plan deemed adequate by the Carbon County Conservation District and PADEP, and the issue of any associated permits. And I pointed out they'll need a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits, the NPDES permit, for stormwater discharges associated with construction activities, and because the proposed earth disturbance is more than 1 acre. The existing resources and a site analysis plan is not prepared to provide the developer in the township with a comprehensive analysis of existing conditions, both on a development site within 200 feet. The following information shall be required to be shown: complete current perimeter survey of the property be subdivided or development prepared by a registered surveyor showing all courses, distances, and area and tie-ins to adjacent intersections. Portions of the proposed land development and access driveway excuse me, are located within the 100-year floodplain as established by FEMA. The preliminary resources impact and conservation analysis to categorize the impacts of the proposed activities and physical alterations, to categorize the impacts of the proposed activities and physical alterations on those resources shown on the existing resources and site analysis plan not submitted. Okay. The preliminary improvements plan not submitted on the not prepared or on the following information not shown in the plan. Plan title should be revised and read preliminary land development plan. Certification of ownership not completed, and surveyor certification not completed. Supporting documentation information, again, the soil and sedimentation control plan not submitted. Again, I pointed out that it'll be conditioned upon the approval of that plan. The drainage and stormwater management plan meeting requirements for Mahoning Township subdivision land developments not submitted. The environmental impact statement prepared in accordance with Chapter 11681 of the Mahoning Township zoning ordinance may be required if the Planning Commission or Board of Supervisors deem it necessary based on the size, site features, and other characteristics of the project. The stormwater and drainage control section 9953. Stormwater and drainage and management plan shall be required for all major subdivisions land developments. It should comply with the PADEP requirements and other agency rules and regulations, and they did submit any complete stormwater calculations. The applicant should demonstrate how runoff from the solar panels is dissipated and not concentrated on the ground beneath the solar panels, and does not create any drainage paths into adjoining property and into the watershed of nearby Mahoning Creek, classified as a high-quality cold water fishery. Under firefighting 9963, evidence should be provided to the Mahoning Township Fire Chief that an adequate, reliable, and available water source can be provided for firefighting purposes. Section 9964, fire access apparatus, roads, and fire lanes shall be provided. There are no fire lanes provided including these solar panels at all. Just, I think they're 10 foot, I don't know if that's, I don't think that's wide enough to get some of these emergency vehicles in there. And evidence should be provided to show how emergency and maintenance vehicles will access the site and access the solar arrays within the site with special consideration to steep slopes and cross slopes, which they are down near the creek. The solar park data specifications, they submitted for the 100 kilowatt, 15,000 volt DC string inverter and the 1500 volt high current combiner and the solar cells. They've been provided, but they didn't provide anything for the transformer. Total number of the panels on the plan is shown as 5,400. Applicant indicated in testimony before the Mahoning Township supervisors there will be approximately 5,800 to 5,900 solar panels, and they should confirm the number before the permanent plan approval. My general comments, they should have a transportation plan. Applicants should provide a route of travel plan detailing which roads and bridges within the township will be reviewed for access during construction and maintenance, identifying pre-existing conditions on state and local roads to be utilized to transport equipment and parts for construction operation and maintenance before construction and road conditions after construction. They might need to require road bonding and financial assurance to properly repair any damage that may occur should there be a requirement of plan approval. Mahoning Township supervisors in the past had concerns for the single-lane stone bridge that connects Bridge Street and Ashtown Road, just past Bear Memorial Park. While there was no weight limit posted, the concern was that heavy trucks utilizing the single-lane stone bridge and Ashtown Road, that the bridge as well as the Ashtown Road surface might not be strong enough for the heavy traffic. 20-foot wide access grate providing the fence line. They show it at one end, but they don't show it down here in the beginning. The sewer line is shown in the plan abruptly ends after exiting the fence line, where it goes up to the trucking company. They should show it at least to the end of the property line. The underground electric conduit, which is coming under here from the transformer over to the pole. Proposed underground electric conduit connection from the transformer pad to existing PP&L pole, as shown in the plan. It traverses through the existing underground sewer line, proposed access driveway, and the stormwater drainage outlet structure down here. Applicant should assure that the proposed underground electric connection conduit will be at sufficient depth not to impede the construction of the access driveway or the stormwater drainage outlet structure. They didn't propose a minimum site distance down here at the entrance road, and they're gonna need a stormwater drainage pipe along Ashtown Road for the drainage. And they should provide a section, access driveway cross section should be provided. And all plan review comments of the Mahoning Township engineers should be addressed before preliminary approval. And my recommendation to the board would be the Carbon County Planning Commission reviewing the above land development plan believes we found several major areas of nonconformance to Mahoning Township Land Development Ordinance that precludes any recommendation for approval of this land development plan at this time is submitted for our review. We also note that this land development plan as proposed will require review, approvals, and permitting by the county and state agencies. Again, we are providing our review comments for discussion to the Mahoning Township supervisors, Mahoning Township Planning Commission, the applicant, and surveyor engineer responsible for this project. If the above noted conditions cannot be adequately addressed or adequately mitigated before preliminary plan approval, we recommend plan rejection of the project as proposed. So basically what we're doing is reviewing this, sending comments to them, and they can make a final determination.
How many times was this presented to the Mahoning Township Planning Commission?
I do not know that. He went before the zoning board, that's all I know. I don't think it's been before their planning.
Good job, Ivan.
Need a motion.
Yep, is there a motion to send item comments to township?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And the files here, and if you wanna look at if any recording data, it's all in there. And that is it for the subdivisions. I guess you want me to go right into engineering. First one we have is Samantha Northside Heights. This is down in East Penn Township. It was a right to know request sent to the commissioner's office, who forwarded it to Dave, who forwarded it to me. And I wrote back to Jennifer, I reviewed the standard right to know request forwarded to me by the Carbon County Office of Planning and Development from the Carbon County Commissioner's Office regarding the following tax parcels, located 232 Lochner Road, Lehighton, PA, and tax parcel 86-8B22 located at 1716 West Lizard Creek Road, Lehighton, located in East Penn Township. And the first one is 232 Lochner Road. There is no surveying done or any type of zoning, it's just a tax parcel, just by itself. And there are records of interest on file in the Carbon County GIS Department website regarding the mapping of the tax parcel, that's about it. The other one located at 1716 West Lizard Creek Road has 8 files, record files of interest in file 3272. It was a preliminary Dwayne Sliker major subdivision plan in the Carbon County Office of Planning and Development pertaining to land development reviews by the following agencies. And one was our review in the East Penn Township Planning Commission meeting. This was back in February 3rd, 2011. The preliminary plan, it was reviewed and conditional rejection recommended, and no further plan submission was received, so it just died in our office in that file. And the preliminary plan reviewed by the East Penn Township Commissioner, engineering February 15th, and the contents are in there. And again, there are wetlands all through the place. It never went any further than that in permitting. And that was it. The last one is the Penn Forest Township subdivision and land development ordinance. It was sent to me by Tom Nanovic. And basically, I have the marked up copy. And between all three of us, we did a good job. There was Nancy Scarcinello. She reviewed the comments of the Penn Forest Commission, the Planning Commission, and the comments provided by the attorney, their solicitor. And I pointed out that we have no additional comments. And the one thing that I saw in there, they're taking that requirement out for trees of 8 inches in caliber. I did point it out in my original review letter that since 2000 and I think it was 20, every request from that waiver was granted 100% by the township out there. So why keep it in there if they're going to keep granting waivers to them? Finally took it out. And that is it.
All right, visitors, well, I guess we have a presentation, right?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Tim Staub. I'm the project manager for your comprehensive plan and Greenway Trails Open Space Plan. Is this the best location for me to stand so everybody can see? Okay, perfect. I'm here to provide you an update of both projects. Both projects have been advertised to adjoining counties as well as to all the local municipalities have been alerted to the draft status of both documents, along with, both documents are posted on the county's website for public review. So we're in the midst of public review as part of the requirements of the municipality's planning code, where both documents have to be on review for 45 days. In regards to the process after today, we're hoping for you to make a recommendation to approve documents for the commissioners to consider in their June meeting. Have representation here from DCED as well as DCNR were kind enough to provide a grant for both projects. And both grants sunset at the end of June, so we're right on schedule. However, if there is any delay, we will need to notify both agencies to let them know that we need an extension of that time. Oh, down, you said. There we go. So today I'm just going to go over the project and its projects in itself, the timelines and tasks, some of the public engagement events, key findings, the structures of both plans, the themes that came out of the comp plan, as well as the Greenway open space plan, Greenway Trails open space plan rather, and the next steps into implementation. Before I do that, I wanted to acknowledge all the participants of the steering committee that assisted through several, a year and a half of meetings that helped guide these documents. This is truly your document. We were just the facilitator of the process. So both projects were on a parallel path. Essentially, we got to know both communities, both from a data standpoint, but also from a public outreach standpoint. And then we took that information and took it back to the committee and shared what we thought were significant findings, and then they shared with us, they were in agreement with those findings, and we built both plans on themes. And then over the fall, over the fall we finished out the theme selection, and in the early winter we wrote both plans, and the committee as well as DCNR reviewed and provided comments associated with both plans. Some of the highlights of the public engagement. So this project was unique compared to other comprehensive plans. Good or bad, no one wanted to show up to just a regular scheduled meeting. So what we did was shift it, and then we tried to meet the public where they're at and get feedback at events such as the Carbon County Fair, rural economy virtual sessions, homeless task force meetings, child care meetings, open space advisory board meetings, and so on. So we were able to receive really good feedback, as well as during the process I got to meet the commissioners several times to give them updates on where we stood. Some of the things that we found out through the development is there are different demands for housing within the county. In the Northeast, there's a lot of commuting coming from New York and New Jersey. In Northwest, you're starting to feel pressure have pressure for housing from industrial companies located in the Hazleton area, and then the Lehigh Valley had some of the lacks affordable housing. So your neighbors don't have affordable housing, so that in itself has now put pressure on your counties as people come into your community searching for affordable housing and making longer commutes. Over the last decade, nearly 10% of the total population has decreased. However, year-round residents, 10% increase of year-round residents, and more indicated that their secondary home destinations were in the county. So the housing that you had was getting gobbled up, like I said, from regional demand, as well as people buying a second house and using it as either vacation rental place, Airbnb, Vrbo, or whatever company you want to insert in there. So again, that also drove housing need in your community. There's a lot of aging infrastructure within the county, as the commissioners are well aware of, as well as probably all of you. And the way that probably is going to be addressed, the easiest is to work together. A lot of these projects, you may have load-bearing bridges that are, cannot handle emergency vehicles. I noted in the solar applicants, the comment from the county as to regards to, you know, need to find the best way to service some of these areas, and some of those roads and some of those bridges may not be able to handle emergency equipment to get to the site. So that impacts what can be grown and what kind of economic development that can occur. And just in general, there's an insufficient lack of critical infrastructure data. So in this, I'm saying to the communities that, yes, you know when you built the bridge, or maybe you put in the sewer, but you don't know when was the last time you updated, you know, the piping underneath and the conveyance. So you may be sitting on ticking time bombs of aging infrastructure that could need to be replaced, and you're not sure when that will happen. There's increased childcare costs across the state, no different here in Carbon County. Increases in cost is 12% of the family income is associated with childcare costs, and 40% of a single person's income is tied to childcare. So that drastically impacts the amount of economic development that can occur if you know, if you can't find childcare in the area, or you can't afford it. So you may be forcing one of the mom or dad to stay at home because they can't afford childcare. There's discrepancies between your local zoning and the infrastructure available. And this is typical of zoning that occurred maybe 20 or 30 years ago, where communities didn't want growth to occur. So they ended up, they didn't want growth to occur and take away from their agricultural, conservation, or rural areas. And the state municipalized planning code requires that you provide a spot for every land use in every community. And so there's maybe an unwanted land use that a community has, such as maybe higher density residential. And so they would place the high density residential in a district that just doesn't make sense, because there's no public sewer in the area, or public water. So therefore, the community felt good that, well, we're never gonna get higher density residential, but this, two things could happen, since those approaches have been instituted or implemented, where courts can challenge and developers can challenge where they can put property, such as high density residential. An applicant can come in and say, hey, you have a place for it, but I can't physically put it there because I don't have the infrastructure put in place. Also, people are looking for not just single family residents in this scenario, that can be driven to other areas of the community and also cause zoning issues. One positive associated with the county is every home is within a 5 miles of a trail. So there's a lot of public amenities, and what we've discovered through this process is, initially a lot of the feedback we heard was, you know, we are impacted by all the tourists and travel people to come in and enjoy the recreational economy, but oftentimes people didn't realize how much they were actually using it. And if you looked at the data, and we tracked cell phone activity, so every time you carry your phone and go to a trail or go to a park, we can tell where you go and where you're gonna go afterwards. And so what we found was a lot of the trips to the local parks went right back to their house, and that house was in Carbon County. Almost 70% of the people that visited the natural features within your community are coming within the county itself. So it's a positive to your community, and yes, you're gonna have regional tourists coming in and or national tourists coming in, but it's really a benefit, these assets, to the community itself. We're making recommendations to have greater connections to the amenities. What commissioners meeting I came to, I believe in December, there was a discussion on parking and how, you know, some of the parking doesn't relate to, you know, economic development that needs to occur, as well as just covering costs. And so, and if we have enough parking in the right locations. So we suggest continuing to look at that on an annual basis. And then overall, we're not suggesting building out the entire county. We're actually suggesting reinvesting in the villages and boroughs that you have, and look for opportunities for regeneration of the brownfields sites. So from that, we start building a plan, and there's an overarching vision for both plans. And then, unlike the previous comprehensive plan, where it was truly comprehensive and it's probably 200 to 300 pages long, this one's around 100, but it's focusing on key themes that we identified that were important. And then there's a structure of goals and objectives underneath, and other implementation tasks that I'll share with you. So for the comprehensive plan, the 4 areas that the committee thought were the most important were housing, outdoor economy, infrastructure, and creating places within the county. And so each of those themes is a dedicated chapter within the plan. And so the structure of the chapter then has those key findings specific to those topic areas, suggested people and or committees to help implement the suggestions and the goals and recommendations in there, as well as give a tease here, pilot projects to help assist, and as well as case studies of other communities that have done similar activities within the Commonwealth. Similar for the Greenways plan, the themes for them were that was connecting trails and community, protecting greenway open space and conservation, providing plentiful farmland preservation, celebrating the historical and cultural sites, having fun associated with the outdoor recreation, which leads to economic development and tourism. So I indicated each chapter has some early implementation guides or items that the community felt were important to address. So we talked about short-term rentals and how it's impacting your housing. Some of the communities have already started making adjustments to their ordinances and having short-term rentals where they want in the communities. We're providing like a 2 to 3 page document on short-term rentals, what they are, that you can hand to a municipality and say, here you go, to help out, facilitate discussion to update your zoning ordinance. And then we did the same thing for all those topics there. The other part of the implementation is we're providing implementation tables, and now this is a throwback to previous comprehensive plans where we have a whole laundry list of items that you could use to implement both documents, and it'll have, you know, who should take the ownership of the objectives and goals, where you can find funding, and so on and so forth to help with implementation. As well as we're providing a grant and loan opportunities section as well. Basically, it's an index of how to pay for a lot of these items. So these are the items that we talk about within the implementation table. And as indicated, both plans are up for review. We've had a lot of great comments associated with both documents, some corrections along the way as well. And so both documents are in draft stage for you to consider, as well as the public. And we're open up for questions for both documents.
Any questions?
Is it too late to make any corrections that might be in there without affecting the deadline?
No. Commissioners can still, can still make comments even at the public hearing on both plans. So you can say, hey, I want to adopt this, but I noticed there's a spelling error on this page, or I don't like the way this is stated. Can we state it this way? Unless it's a significant plan change change, like, hey, we wanna grow out the entire county, then we wanna probably pump the brakes and say, you know, this is a complete plan change and we need to rewrite the document accordingly and re-advertise it.
Nothing major, it's just that a lot of the ambulance corps have closed their doors, they're still listed in the plan, and they have not been in existence for years.
Some of them, sorry,
The ambulance corps, for instance, there's some listed in there that are no longer in
Okay.
existence, so, there's one or two fire that have combined, et cetera, so.
Yep.
I don't know who they went to for that information.
that was, public sourced website, so,
Website,
yeah,
yeah.
so, I'll, if you have the specific recommendations, I'll gladly take them, or we can
I
coordinate.
contacted the communications center that, which ones are still in existence or not, or combined, there's one that merged with Nowta County, Fire Department, McAdoo, Truscar.
Okay.
Weatherly, Nesquehoning, are in the books yet for ambulance, and they're both closed their doors, and new people, have taken over their response from a distance.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
Is this a current practice of either DCED or DCNR providing early implementation funding for programs identified in the plan? Have you heard of that, or am I bringing up an old topic?
Well, I'm not gonna put the state agency on the spot. I did contact the DCD office leading up to the adoption of this, because ultimately the county's responsible with the implementation of this document, but there's gonna be many hats that need to work towards implementation, whether it's open space, working with open space coordinator, whether it's, you know, EMS and fire, working with them. The short answer is both agencies, from what I've heard, are interested in funding implementation. And implementation coming in the form of regional planning. So one of the examples we gave is how Panther Valley is working together currently on their planning. We think that that should be the case. And we make recommendations within the plan of the municipalities that seem to make sense to work together. It may not be historically that they work together, but from a land use and infrastructure standpoint, that's what made sense to us. Because ultimately, again, we still have to provide for every land use in every community, but once you start working regionally, you do not have to provide for every land use within those boundaries. And so we thought that could be a possible opportunity for those communities that will want to remain rural and or agricultural and don't want some of the more intensive uses within their boundaries.
So this could then complement that Blueprint Community
Yes.
program that's going on in the Panther Valley.
Yes. Yes. So, you know, I can't comment on what the state and or federal government is going to do tomorrow as far as funding. There are grants available for implementation of local planning, comprehensive plans, greenway, trail, open space plans currently. There's funding available for open space protection, based on the county's actions on the bond referendum, as you're aware, Dennis. As well as there are other funding opportunities that we highlighted in the plan for consideration. We try to give you a timeline of when you should start the application process and when to attack all of these, because, time, talents, and treasures, and some political willpower leads to implementation, right? You can't do everything at once. So we tried to stack the deck that what makes sense to start your foundation for implementation, and then each branch of the house of implementation, you can build off of that foundation as you choose, as you have available money, as you have available people to help with implementation, as well as political support for implementation. I will also point out, as a fellow planning commission member, I'm at the township level, you have the right to make a comment personally on the plans itself. You can vote and say, I'm supportive of this, but I may disagree with this and personally, or I would prefer this to be brought out more personally, but I don't wanna hold the plan up, and so forth. So you have two obligations here, both as county residents, but also as planning commissioners.
Is there something you need the planning commission to do today?
Yes, we're hoping that you provide a recommendation of hopefully approval, but to the Board of Commissioners for consideration for adoption of both documents.
Discussion?
I'll make that recommendation.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Recommendation is made.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work.
Oh, Your group, your committee.
Okay. Any correspondence, Shannon, we should be aware of?
Nope. I don't have anything.
Visitors have anything else to add? Commissioners? Cameraman? No? Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, very
Thank you very much.